This Late Night Linux Family podcast is made possible by our patrons. Go to latenightlinux.com/support for details of how you can join them. Support us on Patreon for access to ad-free episodes and early releases. That's latenightlinux.com/support. Hello and welcome to episode 373 of Late Night Linux, recorded on the 9th of February 2026. I'm Joe, and with me are Phelim.
Ciao.
Graham.
I spent €30 on a TCP/IP networking stack for my Amiga.
And Kevin.
I'm back.
Yes, thank you for coming back, or sticking around, as it really is, Kevin. And didn't care last week about your Amiga, Graham, and I don't care now. So. Save it for Late Night Amiga.
Hold on. Let me buy the domain.
Ardor 9.0 is out, and I watched the video. It seems like there's a lot of cool new features, but I didn't fully understand all of them. Phelim, you put this in, I think, just to promote them.
Yeah, I mean, but don't ask me what it means either. Jesus. Yeah, no, I just think it's a really excellent project, really professional. Haven't a clue how to use it, but it looks really good. And it's amazing that he manages to fund himself by the way he does it, so that's great too. It's an open source project doing things right.
Yeah, I really like the way that they're doing things as well. I saw, for example, in a thread that was discussing this release, somebody asking for some support on a self-build binary. And Paul very diplomatically said, look, because of the model, I can't support other people's builds. They just can't test them. So, you're kind of on your own. But of course, if you support and download the builds that they provide, then you get the support that you need. But I mean, Ardor is such an important project, like Blender for graphics. I just, going to my kids' schools and seeing all the Macs and seeing all of the Apple software running on that and how much it must cost. If they want to teach a DAW and audio engineering, Ardor, it's got a steep learning curve, but that learning curve is entirely relevant to audio engineering, to mastering and to producing music professionally. I think it's a brilliant piece of software. And this, I don't know if you remember, it used to be just an audio-only piece of software, but MIDI has been creeping in over the last decade, and this release seems to really tie the MIDI part in with the audio now, like a modern DAW with the piano roll editor where you can click the blocks of MIDI data on to play your MIDI synths and MIDI audio right next to each other for syncing and recording and mixing. It's a great piece of software.
Does that mean I can finally do my dead mouse, what's that word for a really great music piece that I can't even remember that?
Yeah, although they've had their clip view, if that's what you're talking about, for like Ableton or Bitwig for some time.
Okay.
This just allows you to be able to edit, if you keep in the MIDI realm, and you can drag the MIDI blocks around just like you could with Rose Garden, for example.
Oh, that's very cool. No, I'll do like that. I was quite envious when you see somebody doing something easy on a video where they're, break down the track of such and such hit, and then they show you how to do it, and you just look at the software and you go, oh, fuck, I wish we had something like that. But yeah, well, maybe we do.
Phelim, you put this in LinkedIn extension fingerprinting.
Yeah, so I thought this was quite funny. So obviously we enjoy a good kicking of Mozilla every week. It's the thing that makes me wake up in the morning. But for once, they've actually done this right. Apparently, Chrome extensions generate a UUID, and then through various ways of doing things, you can fingerprint someone's browser based on the ones that they have installed. And LinkedIn has been doing that for about 2,953 extensions to try and find out who the fuck you are and what you're up to and know more about you. And for once in its life, Firefox randomizes that stuff every time you restart. So they are unable to do it there. And I just thought, credit where it is due, where Mozilla did something right.
Another thing right.
Did something right. I was correct the first time.
For once.
For once, yes.
That is quite shocking, albeit not surprising, quite how bad LinkedIn is for this.
The whole of ad tech, they're just terrible.
There's a lot of places that do this. There's some sites out there like Am I Unique where you can see all of the hundreds or thousands of ways in which someone can fingerprint you and determine that it is you visiting that particular site. It's terrifying.
I'm just going to Am I Unique now to see how bad it is, and it's running its business now, so let's see.
I would say most people on like Linux, they'll be like, you're unique. You're one of one.
It's like, do you use Linux and have you got the en-i fucking language pack? It's like, oh my God, it's me and Connor.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any fonts installed? It's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I'm seeing a fair bit of green, but quite a lot of red, which is 0.01%. My user agent, for example. So that suggests that I am very unusual.
But it's the combination of all of these things. So like you have these particular red things. If you were to go to another site and they saw those same red things, they'd be like, oh, this is Joe.
I don't understand why they don't randomize this shit automatically or make up random. Like, you know, if they can fingerprint by your plugins, why don't they just make up like 10,000 plugins that you have installed, but you don't, just to fuck with it? Like, there's something naive there, I'm sure, that I'm not quite getting. But yeah, it is so fucking frustrating, this shit.
AI controls are coming to Firefox. So they are going to implement very shortly a button in the settings that just turns all the AI bullshit off. This is what we asked for. They're delivering it. Well done, Mozilla. I mean, obviously it'd be better if they just stripped it all out, but at least they're going to give us a proper button and also granular controls if you want to just have the translation and stuff like that.
Is the button going to stay off over updates, though?
They did promise that, yes.
Mm-hmm. Why are translations lumped in with this? This annoys me. They can't do one thing right. They still have to be annoying. Honestly, it's not AI. It's ML. It was before all of this AI bollocks. The translations were a thing. There's no need for them. They don't go anywhere else.
Yeah, AI in my mind has come to mean generative AI.
Or something that's off, that you're going off to use like ChatGPT or the likes of that. The translations are local and have always been there based on the various work that people have used over the time.
You can absolutely run local models and agents and everything. I don't think it being local versus the cloud is the distinction here.
Yeah, but that's not what this is. And I am convinced that those cunning shite bags on the board have specifically put that bit in just to troll us.
Come on. Let's be positive about Mozilla for once. They have listened.
No, I won't be positive about Mozilla. While there is still a board receiving large amounts of money, I shall not be.
Come on, this is what we asked for. This is what they are delivering to us.
We'll see.
I don't know whether to mention this, but I spoke to Mozilla.ai at FOSDEM, and one of them's very keen to come on the show.
What form had they taken?
So I don't know. Maybe listeners should let us know whether we should have somebody from Mozilla.ai on the show.
I mean, maybe. Introducing Vouch, explicit trust management for open source. Quite a few people got in touch with us about this. And we'll link to a post on Mitchell Hashimoto's Mastodon. And I'll quote a little bit of it. The idea is simple. Unvouched users can't contribute to your projects. Very bad users can be explicitly denounced, effectively blocked. So this is about blocking people who submit AI slop in issues and pull requests and stuff. And it's kind of what we've previously talked about, a kind of reputation system. It seems like it was originally built for use with GitHub, but it supposedly does work with other Git forges. And it seems to be very configurable in terms of what you restrict and how you restrict and what your criteria are, etc. So this could be good if it takes off. It feels like it needs a bit of a network effect, though. It feels like it needs a lot of people to get involved for it to actually function as a system.
It says this was also loosely based on like the PGP Web of Trust, which I think it's a good idea in general, but it's not the idea or even the implementation of this that has been the hard part. It's that network effect. And Mitchell Hashimoto has a very big voice in these types of things. So maybe this one will actually see some takeoff, but without significant adoption, I don't see this going super far.
I like the fact that it's so simple that it is effectively a bunch of flat files and a couple of scripts that essentially allow or disallow check-ins based on, you know, a very simple format that you could share between projects, or you could copy a project that you trust's file, for instance, as a bootstrap for, you know, how you're getting going with yours. So I think it's quite good in the fact that it is decentralized as well. So, you know, you don't need any infrastructure by anybody. I mean, if I was designing this, I probably would have thought of something that was centralized just this once so we could get around all the other stuff. But no, this is a better way of doing it.
But I wonder how much of it, though, like for somebody to submit some sort of AI slop pull request, at that point, that is the harm that is done. And unless they're in one of these lists that I happen to have downloaded previously or bootstrapped from somewhere else, then I still get subjected to this. So I do think it will help for some of like the major offenders, kind of like an IP block list or something. But unless it's really up to date and really fast on whatever the latest one is, like it just seems like it will be too little, too late, I guess. But I should be more optimistic. This will improve the state of the world.
Just like email, that works really well. So this will be no problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There are other solutions out there, not to this specific problem, but there are ones that are very similar to this. There's one out there called Cargo Crev or CREV. I'm not sure which way they prefer to pronounce it, but it's based on this like web of cryptographically secure, trusted reviews between people. And it's been more on the code side, not on the submitter or the developer side. But it's the same idea. And even that one's been around for years, and it has struggled to get really widespread adoption because it's that network that's really, really hard to replicate.
And having cargo in the name suggests that that is Rust people then.
It was originally a Rust thing. It is now a language agnostic thing. I don't know if there is a separate tool. I believe there is that is not built into like the Rust build system. I think they just kept the name Cargo because that's how it started. But it is meant to be a language agnostic thing.
Right. Well, I like the idea of having just plain text files full of shit bags that you can share with people. That sounds excellent to me. But I do agree that this network effect problem is going to be tricky to overcome.
Well, if someone can host the plain text file of shitbags aggregator service, then maybe we'll have something there too.
Okay, this episode is sponsored by Automox. If you're evaluating endpoint management solutions, the real risk isn't which tool you choose, it's choosing one without a proven blueprint for success. Because while most endpoint tools promise automation, next to none promise outcomes. That's why Automox introduced Turnkey results. Turnkey removes the uncertainty that holds endpoint automation back. It delivers a personalized results blueprint, so Automox is configured and operated to achieve real outcomes from day one. No trial and error, just clarity. Each blueprint is validated across millions of endpoints managed by Automox and tailored to your specific environment, your risk tolerance, and your operational goals. Instead of guessing how aggressive to be with automation or how to configure policies safely, start with a plan you can trust. And you can choose to implement the plan yourself or have Automox do it for you. Either way, you get faster time to value, lower risk, and predictable endpoint outcomes. Automox Turnkey results. Know the plan, trust the result. Learn more at www.automox.com. I went back to Linux, and it was a mistake. I need an OS, not another hobby. So this is Terence O'Brien writing for The Verge. And he talks about installing Ubuntu on a pretty decent XPS 15 from 2019 and just having all sorts of problems. And like reading through it, I couldn't decide, is he just moaning or are these all legitimate issues that people actually face? And I think that it's probably the latter, to be honest. I think that we as Linux users just sort of get used to it. But conversely, I think that he's probably just used to the Windows bullshit and working around problems there that he just doesn't mention in this piece.
Yeah, I think he came from a MacBook M1 or something, but there are tons of things that happen on the Apple side of the world that would also seem equally crazy to some of the things that he lists, like, oh, what is this deb or RPM or all these different package managers? Like Apple has that too. Maybe not quite to the same level, but there's all kinds of stuff that happens in the Apple world, or like, what are all these DS store files? And so I think it's just that he's used to that world, goes into this one and is, in my opinion, kind of nitpicking. On top of that, he has a very specific workflow, I guess, with like he does audio editing or video editing, something along those lines, wants to play all of his various games as well, and is comparing that to the performance of like a PS4. Like, I don't know, it just seemed like a strange set of expectations for a 2019 XPS to me, at least as I read through it.
Yeah, I picked up on that too. And I find people like this really irritating. They want it to be like the way they want it to be, not, accept that it is actually different. I mean, you can change it somewhat to the way you want it to be, but to completely expect Linux to be the Mac or Windows is just ridiculous. And, he was whinging about bloody Steam and saying, oh, there's so many different types of fucking Linux. No, it's Steam. You're running Steam. It shouldn't matter. If you've done, your standard install the way they expect you to, it should work. I don't know what the fuck he did with it.
He did say it took hours to get Steam running. Like, he got it installed and then it just did all that stuff where it downloads all of the fucking runtimes and everything. And that took hours, which seems like that's not his fault.
It shouldn't take hours. What the fuck's he run it on? A 56K modem?
Yeah, it's like 200 megabytes of stuff from what I remember. It's not a whole lot, even if you include the quote unquote outdated 32-bit libraries. I agree that part's annoying, but like, it's all handled behind the scenes and taken care of for you. I don't think I've ever had this kind of experience where this stuff takes hours. And it does seem to be, when people write these types of articles, they run into like every single red light possible, where like this just hasn't been my experience at all.
It reminds me a little of projects where you are using, you're pitching a FOSS type setup versus, insert package name there. And it doesn't matter what the Windows thing does. It can catch fire to the entire OS, delete all the finance records. Oh, it's Windows, haha. But, if a single RPM is like 20 minutes late based on when they think the security team should have it. Oh, no, look at this. It's totally unprofessional. We can't do this. And it's like, fuck off.
Well, yes, but then he had problems like, for example, plugging in his audio interface and it just wouldn't work with Steam. The sound just kept coming out of his laptop speakers. No matter what he did, he couldn't get the sound to come out of his audio interface, which is presumably plugged into nice speakers or whatever. That's not going to be a problem on a Mac or Windows.
I bet it might be a problem on a Windows box. They're not exactly plain sailing.
I think I've had more audio output issues on Windows than I have on Linux by far.
That has not been my experience, I must say.
I think these stories come up and it's interesting to read them and acknowledge that they had these problems. But at the same time, I don't feel like we're here to try and convince them to keep trying. If they don't have the energy and the time to solve these problems, then Linux just isn't for them. And that's fine by me.
I hear what you're saying, Graham. Is it don't let the door hit you on the way out?
A little bit. It's like, it requires some sacrifice. I'm sorry. Doing anything good requires a little sacrifice. Good luck with Windows.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like they don't weigh up all the good stuff that they get. Like, God knows how many thousands catalog of actually decent software.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck those guys.
Well, reading through this, it kind of put me in mind of something that I've seen a couple of people say recently. And that is that open source is just not as good as proprietary software. And some people just seem to have that kind of axiom almost, that like, it's more ethical, it's cheaper, it's better for all these reasons, but the software actually performing better is not one of them. And that I take issue with.
I do too. The mention of some specific Adobe software, however good Adobe software is going to be, there's no fucking way I'm using it.
Right, but again, that's more of the kind of, it's better to use open source alternatives because they don't lock you in and there are almost ethical reasons for it. Ethical and practical, I mean. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, I think Firefox is objectively a better browser than Chrome. So a lot of people would disagree with me, but I think it is objectively better.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Even despite their incompetence, but yeah.
You're right. I think I took it for granted. I do think Linux and the open source software I use is better. I can't imagine, anyway, okay, so Phelan and I choose KDE, but there's no other desktop that comes close in our mind.
And Kevin.
And Kevin. Oh, 3 against 1. Oh, fucking, where's Will now, Joe? Huh?
There's nothing like Dolphin anywhere else.
I also agree. I think that Plasma is a better desktop than the macOS one, whatever it's called. That's just a disaster to me. You can't make it how you want it, whereas KDE Plasma, you can make exactly how you want it.
And it's the same for Explorer on Windows. Every time I load it up, I'm like, how do I get a list view of my files? Pulling that thing down at the top and then trying to find the tiny little icon to do it. There are so many pieces of software that I could say I feel are better. But the thing I've said about Adobe is serious because when I invest time learning how to use something, I don't want to put my trust in another company for not changing how it's used or how I access it. So the time I invest in learning open source software isn't going to be taken away from me. If I really care, I could fork the project, but I also have a voice in that project.
Yeah. But Kevin, you as a developer, surely the tools available to you that are open source are better than the proprietary ones, or maybe not. I don't know. You tell me.
I would absolutely say they are. I mean, I prefer to develop on Linux whenever possible. And I might have some weird workflows, but the majority of developer tools that I've seen they tend to target Linux first. And now these are usually like not up in your face, like creative Adobe software or audio and video software. But the point still stands. Like, even if they're in the back end, it is still arguably far better on Linux than for the other platforms. And I think a lot of developers also target Linux first as like kind of the first class citizen. You'll see a lot of like command line tools and stuff that target the Linux environment, server-based tools that also bleed over into development stuff. Like, all of those ones kind of target Linux first. And they are world-class, better than a lot of the like proprietary alternatives or ones that are on Windows. And
Phelim, in your work, can you imagine using some of the horrible proprietary, clunky, like storage stuff and whatnot?
Nah, it's just unreal, the difference. And I think we are super lucky in the fact that if you come from a dev or an admin side of things, that it is actually the sort of the top dog. I just think, unfortunately, in a lot of the other areas, it's seen as not. And I think that's where it can appear to somebody who doesn't know, all those very valid points that you've made. Like, Graham, if you learn the tool, nobody can take it away from you. Whereas, don't you even have a Photoshop edition that you still have that's ancient, Joe? Because you have the actual edition that you've got. Whereas if you're on paying a fucking fee every month, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, which is what Apple's doing with their stuff now as well. Yeah. If you're not paying for your Adobe, or if the fucking servers go down, you've got no access to your software. Whereas, that ancient version, I think it's Photoshop 7.
Oh, God.
This is like before the CS and all the rest of it. This is like original Photoshop 7, and it still works fine. As it happens, I've not installed that for ages. It works fine in Wine, but I've just forced myself to learn GIMP now. And I'm really glad that I forced myself to learn GIMP, because you can't take that away from me.
Even in those creative categories, whether it be audio, video, photos, anything, those still have comparable, like, people that can create amazing things in the greatest Photoshop or Adobe products. People that are really good at the open source products can do things that are equally as amazing. They might not learn the proprietary ones as much. They're maybe not taught in school or as popular. But I think the point is, there's not a like, this software is objectively worse than the other. I think a person who's really good at the software can do amazing things in either or. It just happens to be which one they learned first or put their time into learning. I think we would all argue that putting your time into something ethical that you have control over, that has a long-term viability, like that outweighs any of the sort of popularity concerns.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of one of those things where in software we have the mistake of learning the tool rather than learning the process. And, nobody's going to employ a Makita-only carpenter because, they don't like the way insert random other tool brands.
DeWalt.
Thank you. I couldn't think of a fucking one. Oh, Ryobi, the ones I have.
Oh, yeah, the real professional ones, Ryobi, yeah.
Hey, shut up. They're bright. No one's nicking that without me seeing them.
No one's nicking it because they're rubbish.
Hey, I got invested in a proprietary encapsulating battery standard, so I'm stuck there now, so shut up.
Yes, as did I with Makita. Thankfully, they're actually good.
I'm too poor.
But yeah, you should really learn principles and ideas rather than specific software. And standards, ideally.
But I guess the problem is the fact that the software industry doesn't want you to do that. They want you to just use their tool. And I think that is where the issue is. There's a lot of PR and marketing bullshit that goes along with it.
But we do have some examples where even on the consumer side of things, or at least the graphical desktop side of things, we've got some real winners. Blender, for example, someone used that to create an animated movie that won an Oscar. OBS, that is the standard for streamers, big and small, up to like the biggest people who are making millions doing streaming. They're all using OBS because it is objectively the best. And I just wish people would acknowledge that more. Right, well, we better get out of here then. Thank you very much for joining us for these 2 episodes, Kevin. It's been great.
Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
We'll be back next week when hopefully we'll be back. But until then, I've been Joe.
I've been Phelim.
I've been Graham.
And I've been Kevin.
See you later.